Good morning, everyone. We made it.
It's almost like we were never gone.
It's almost like with the background, you can't tell that anything has changed.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed
Nothing
at all.
has changed at all.
Welcome to the Dev Chat for today, September 25th, 2019. I'm Will Hungerford, lead developer here at Private Press. With me is my boss and overlord.
Overlord today.
Schoonover, development manager. If you've never joined us before, we stream here two times a week, but often three these days.
We have two consistent shows and some other streams that pop up and jump around.
We have two mainstays. The Dev Chat every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific.
Which is what we're watching.
What you're watching now, that's where we, the development team, get on and talk to you about what's going on with the games. Get your paint on.
Yeah.
On Thursdays with Jordan Lamb, where Jordan paints all kinds of new models. You can always catch that at 10. Lately, we've been doing Hobby Hangout on Fridays with Danny Samuels, where Danny does cool custom terrain and or kit bashing projects. And then monthly, we've got the Staff Showdown. The next one's coming up on October 1st, and we will be playing a multiplayer game of Riot Quest here in the new studio.
Yeah, try to get that Butcher that Jordan was working on the table, and some other models that are coming out in October.
Yeah, that should be really exciting. Let's hit up some news, because it has been a while. Let's show you some mini crate things.
Yeah.
First off, there's a new mini crate model.
Yeah.
Little Fenris. This is a replacement for your Nayslayers. He just became available and is available till October 19th, so you got a good long while to pick him up. The VIP model is still the Transfer Dancer. If you do a 6-month sub, you will get the Transfer Dancer in your next subscription. That's still good till February 19th. If you're a Legend of the Five Rings fan, and you should be.
Samurais and stuff.
Samurais and ninjas. Asawa Takata is available till October 5th, so we're about like 2 weeks away from that no longer being available. The VIP is Sadako, available till November 5th, so you still got a little bit of time, but that one is starting to run out. And over on the Savage mini crate, the works of Robert E. Howard, Belit is the current model, available till October 12th. And the VIP, of course, is King Conan on his throne.
Yeah, we're getting about to the halfway point of Conan.
We're getting there.
Because we've had, this Belit is the third model in that line. So that Conan on the throne will be the VIP for a while longer, but we're happy.
I'm excited to see what the next VIP model is. One of the last little bit of announcement, in case you haven't watched recently, is we are now doing subscriptions via Twitch. So if you want to sub to the channel and show your love and support for us, it is super beneficial. You will get the Privateer Press logo as your subscriber badge, and then you get access to a variety of emotes. We've got 6 so far, including Govin, Hamilton, pair of the Chibi Monpod models. And we'll be adding more. Basically, as we get more subs, we unlock more emoji slots, and then we will be doing special things and talking to the subscribers in special ways. So that's all coming in the future, but really we're just getting started with it.
We just made it live about a month ago.
If you love us as much as we love you,
is that possible? We love them so much.
It's not possible, but if you think you do.
So if you want to try to love us as much as we love you.
So we got a couple different things to talk about today. We've got some stuff we're going to talk about what's going on in WTC, some stuff that Chain Attack did recently that was cool. And you've got a lot of, because we missed the Monpoc.
We didn't do a Monpoc dev chat. We did a Monpoc battle, and Faye and I talked about a lot of stuff and used some new models, but we didn't have cards digitally to show people yet. We were showing print-offs on front camera. So we're going to go through the cards and give people real clean, crisp images of those cards and those October releases.
So we're basically going to do some catch-up this week because we missed last week's streams, and I guess that's the first thing we should talk about. The reason we missed last week's streams. We moved.
We are still moving.
Yeah, we are still, it is still happening.
Yeah.
I mean, the dev office has moved.
Yeah, it's like a train. The beginning of the train starts to move, and the end of the train hasn't moved yet.
No.
And then as you pick up speed, eventually that caboose goes past that place where the engine was, but it takes a while.
So we're in the new studio right now.
Yeah, we're in a brand new room that's like 3 times as big as the other one.
Yeah, so if it sounds a little echoey right now, this room is still in transition. The echoey is not from audio, it's from we're in a big ass room right now.
Tony got the green paint on the wall so that you wouldn't really notice anything visually different, but the room is gigantic.
Yeah, we have warehouse echo going on right now. So that will get dialed in. There's nothing we can do right now other than like stick microphones in our mouths, and that's weird.
And I've seen a lot of comments on the internet at large about customer service and stuff, and that those things are getting put back together and starting to go again. There was some internet issues when we first moved in the first couple of days. So the customer service team has gotten the internet. I'm almost positive now, and that's up and running, but they still have to get to that backlog of stuff. So if you've got in customer service requests or other things like that, be a little bit patient with us more than normal.
Yeah.
And we will get through all that backlog and get you replacement parts and all those things in the next couple of weeks as things get settled down.
Yeah, sounds right. A couple quick things. RuneWise and P1PP, thank you very much for the Twitch subs. We love you very much. Speaking of someone we love very much, probably the most important announcement we can make today.
Yeah.
Today is Tony Konachek's birthday,
Ooh.
our video producer.
Yeah.
So Tony, who's sitting right over there now,
It's weird.
he used to be sat behind
used to be
here.
almost perfectly.
But now if I want to talk to Tony, I have to go, Tony.
You gotta pretend I'm over there, though.
I can't.
No,
I need to
no.
look at you. Happy birthday.
No.
I hope you have a wonderful one.
Thank you
If
very
chat, I need all of chat to wish Tony a happy birthday, please. Because without Tony, we wouldn't have streams. We wouldn't have sweet videos.
This wouldn't be working at all without Tony.
wouldn't be any. This job wouldn't be worth it without Tony.
Yeah.
In fact, Tony, if you ever leave, I'm quitting.
Tony's what brings it all together.
Tony
Makes it worth it.
Tony is the best of us.
Yeah.
So, and as a special birthday present, Tony, could you bring up the Facebook chat so that I can see it as well? All right, let's get right into it, shall we?
Did we announce everything we were going to announce?
Yeah, we announced everything we
Okay.
want to announce. Look at all the love in Facebook right now. Just people just screaming happy birthday.
Screaming. No, I don't see any all caps in there.
It'll come. It'll come.
I see someone screaming Tony.
So the first thing we want to talk about is something really cool that a member of the community, well-known members of the community have done, which is Chain Attack. Chain Attack is easily one of the most popular War Machine and Hordes podcasts out there, run by Jay, Trevor, Josh. You know, they've been doing this for quite some time. And as many of you know, Oblivion has recently hit, and a big part of Oblivion is the narrative campaign that's inside of it. I know that we see a lot of talk about competitive play online, but it turns out there's actually a lot of people that play the game super casually and specifically look for narrative play. They're looking for ways to play that aren't steamroller. They want a little bit crazier stuff. They want to be able to tell a story with their own models, and Oblivion was our first campaign product since Escalation. Actually sold as a product.
Yeah, Escalation had a big chunk of text in the back of that book that was campaign, and I feel like there was one other thing since then, but not.
We've done
not as major as this.
We've done leagues, right? I mean, there's Crossroads of Courage that made Holden what he was, and we've done, there was Machinations, Scars of Cain. We've done Path of Devastation. I remember that one. There was a lot of
adjective, noun,
but
kind of thing.
As a product you bought and that it was full page book with all the art and the fluff, and then you got to be part of the story. We haven't done that in forever.
Yeah.
So narrative campaign comes out in Oblivion. People that are playing through it are loving it, and the fellows over at Chain Attack decided to not only play through it but do a battle report series on their experiences. So we sort of wanted to promote that. We thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
Jay's a great guy. We love the guys over at Chain Attack, all of them. Trevor, since he smiled for me, is now a great guy. No, he's always been a good guy. But you can go check out their Oblivion campaign podcast where they go from the prologue to the big mega battle finale and check it out. So if you're interested in seeing what it was like and you just want to hear their sultry voices, check it out. And I do want to say, anyone out there, if you have a blog or a podcast or a video series that you are doing the Oblivion campaign from start to finish like this, let us know.
Yeah, tag us in social medias or send us emails and things, because we want to spread the word about those kind of things. We're not just praising Chain Attack. We want to tell anybody that's producing content around Oblivion that they can use us to promote their streams and stuff. Yeah. Because we want people to understand what Oblivion really is. And some people are a little bit confused about it's a box, what's in it. It's got things, it's got a new rule book. But that campaign with the cards and the branching tree and stuff is a big part of that product. And it provides a different way to play the game than I have two lists and I went to a tournament and blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
So yeah.
So just want to point that out. Hope everybody has fun listening to it if you go check it out. Speaking of cool community-related things, we want to give a shout out that the WTC is this weekend.
Yeah.
So World Team Championship, easily one of the Omega events for War Machine
Yeah,
Awards
it's real
every
big.
year. You know, you've got the Warfare Weekend Invitational, you've got Lock and Load and the Iron Gauntlet. But WTC is really unique in that it brings people from all over the world together to play on these giant team events. And we know that team events are very popular. They have been for a very long time.
Yeah.
You got the ATC here in America, but there's so many for so many different game systems. It's just a popular way to play. People like forming teams. Coming up with team names or representing their countries in this case.
Yeah,
and
getting cool jerseys.
Getting cool jerseys, but also just like you're representing something more than yourself. You're part of something larger. And when you do a national team championship, you know, you're representing your home. And that's always people, it gives everyone somebody to cheer for. And then of course if you aren't particularly bought in to your own nation or any other nation winning, you get to see all the top lists. Because WTC is always a hotbed of what the meta currently looks like in a variety of different ways.
Yeah.
So WTC is happening this weekend. I was trying to find if anyone was streaming it, and I couldn't see because we're not there. We're not in attendance.
Yes.
But I don't know if anyone is streaming.
I haven't heard specifically.
But you know, I hope that somebody might be. If not, maybe somebody's recording. But we're really excited to see the news and all the social media come out of it, and then hear all the reports. And we do pay attention to who wins and what lists and the percentages of how much something shows up or doesn't show up. Obviously, team events are very different because of the pairing process that you go through versus just a standard 1v1 steamroller. So that does change your decisions in list building a little bit. Yeah. But it's still a pretty good snapshot of where things are at. Unplayable Trash Panda on Twitch, who is a subscriber by the way, says Moose Machine is going to be streaming it all. And Kuniman backs that up. And Type to Carry also backs that up. So Twitch chat's just yelling at us right now. So Moose Machine is going to be streaming the WTC if you want to go check them out.
Cool.
But for everyone going to WTC, we decided to give them something special.
Yeah, this is the announcement that this is happening. No one knew about this before. Right now.
The folks that are on their way to WTC that might be watching this or just learning about this, it's not for sale. I believe we're just giving it to them in their swag bags. We decided to make a special Morrowind Battle Priest model that all the WTC attendees are going to be receiving. This is the Morrowind Battle Priest. It's actually the first time I believe he's released. He's not even out yet.
Yeah, he's not out yet. People have seen a render of him, but
we will be adding him to War Room this Friday, the rules for him. And this is a resculpted Morrowind Battle Priest where he is holding 2 giant tankards of ale.
Yeah, he's got a keg under his arm and a tankard up in the air that he's going to hit somebody with. And when I spin this back around,
we did a quick little. We just got this model in and did like a quick.
This Zenithal doesn't really bring it out, but you can see on that keg the WTC symbol. So the fist with the gears on the side of it, like painting it for real would bring that out a lot stronger. But it's on there. I keep doing the mirror thing where I go the wrong direction.
There we go. Yeah. So we decided everyone going should get themselves a little something special and show our love and support for WTC. And definitely looking forward to seeing all the coolness out of there. And definitely not 80 plus converted hermits or anything like that. Just all hermits actually out of the Oblivion box to go with your Morrowind Battle Priest. And we hope you enjoy those. Sure. I think we'll talk more about WTC after it happens.
Yeah.
So that we can kind of see the results and which team won and who you're rooting for. Is it America?
Nah.
You just immediately know.
It's probably Canada. I don't know how many Canadian teams there are and who's on them, but one of them should win. Because it's Canada. I just went to Canada a couple weeks ago to a TACX. Yeah. Casually for like one day. We ran up there and hung out. And I love Canada. I love everything about it. I'm not going to live there though, because there's no game companies up there for me to work for.
I mean, I'm rooting for America.
Okay, you can be for America. I'll be for Canada.
All right.
Tony can be for like Venezuela or something.
Yeah. Tony, who are you rooting for? It's your birthday. Who are you rooting for?
Everybody else.
Oh, everyone else? That's a big bet. You can't do that. Right. So let's go ahead and move on to the next topic, which is kind of going to be the bulk of what we want to talk about today, and that's to make up for the lost stream last week on Monsterpocalypse. So Oz, you've got a ton of stuff you want to
I
play.
do. So, if anybody watched Faye and I play Monsterpocalypse in the most recent staff showdown, they've heard us talk about a lot of new Monsterpocalypse models. And I'm getting a little bit sick, so I'm going to cough a couple times, Tony. So
Cough right into Hunter.
I will, right into his microphone. And we even showed a couple of printouts of monsters and stuff, but we didn't have every digital asset ready.
Yeah.
And so people have only seen bad screen caps of photos with weird lighting on our.
Tony, you can just move my nameplate over now if you want to hear.
Anyway, so we're going to go through all of the October releases for Monsterpocalypse.
All right.
Except Gorgatron, who got bumped due to packaging issues from September to October because we've already shown him off.
Okay.
So he was technically a September release. He just got pushed a little bit.
Okay.
So the Empire of the Apes and the Lords of Cthulhu are getting models in October.
There's a couple monsters, but mainly units, right?
Everything this fall is a monster for 2 different factions and units that go along with them.
Okay.
When we get into next year, that gets shaken up a little bit with some releases because Sergeant Titanic is coming out in her regular release next spring, and Green Fury's getting a booster pack of units, but they're not in the same month, I don't think, right now.
Cool.
So that all might change because production always shifts things around. But this is October, and the very first thing that no one's ever seen before, and we didn't even have playable on the stream last time, was the Ape Bomber. So these are another unit returning from the first version of Monsterpocalypse, but with some significant changes. I wanted to give these guys a really unique role on the good guy side, on protectors, and just do something really interesting and fun with them. So they fly, and they have high mobility because they're wearing a jetpack thing.
Of course.
And they're bombers, so their general thing is targeting buildings. So they've got devastation on their attack.
Which is an explosion off the building.
Which is,
if you roll that strikes, it kills all the units around it, right? Yeah.
So if the building blows up and you roll good enough, it kills all the units around it. And they have Destabilizer, which is +1 blue die when they target a building, just like the Martian Vanguards have.
Yeah, and they can,
so they are better at hitting buildings.
And they can combine.
Yeah, and they can combine.
Because, I mean, they're what, 1 blue by themselves?
Yeah, they're 1 blue by themselves.
But you get 3 of them combining. For a 3 white die, you're rocking 6 blues, not including any elites.
Yeah, and if you throw the elite in, which is the next card we're going to show.
So yeah, if you throw the elite in, you can easily get up to what, 9 dice. And just take out whatever you're firing at.
So they're not super fast, and they don't have a massive threat range. They're only speed 5 and range 3, so they can only get at a building 8 spaces away from them. But there are ways to speed them up in the game with Motivator and the Industrial Complex and that kind of stuff.
And then radar dishes.
And radar dishes will give them +1 range. So they're really going to own anything in the midfield. If there's a building out there that your opponent has units hiding around, or if they've secured one of those important buildings in the middle of the table, these guys have a pretty good chance of blowing it up and wrecking that entire plan. And if you can get them into your opponent's backfield by using extra speed bonuses or the neutral spawns in the middle of the table, then that'll be big bonuses.
Yeah.
And don't forget, you can combine brawls or blasts from units. So a bunch of G-tanks or whatever could help this guy shoot a building. If he led the attack, he would get devastation to trigger. But you don't have to have a bunch of the same unit to combine an attack. It just has to be the same type of attack, so brawl or blast.
And just, I don't have the card in front of me and I don't want to misspeak, Sky Sentinel with these guys.
Sky Sentinel doesn't work with these guys because Sky Sentinel says faction unit.
He says faction unit?
Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't
so
remember.
Sky Sentinel makes jets and choppers better, but doesn't affect these guys.
I couldn't remember if it was faction or just every protector model with him. So.
Yeah. And then these guys are the mainline fighters. So every blister generally, besides the Martian ones, has a mainline fighting unit, which is a Gruntney Elite, and a specialist of some sort that's either a support model or like a sniper or whatever. So the Command Ape is the specialist in this blister pack. And the Command Ape is all about moving people around.
He's got a little radar dish in the back.
He's a little orangutan sitting there comfortable, talking into his microphone, and he has hit and run himself, and he has 1 blue die and 1 white die, so he's not the greatest, but he can combine and get some work done with some people. He's also speed 5 with high mobility, so he can get around the table pretty easy. And he has Battle Command, which hands out hit and run to models near him. So that's a really powerful tactic for stealing power points from your opponent.
Yeah, it is.
Because the Shadow Sun can do that right now. And this lets you walk up to something that's sitting on a power point, knock it off that power point with an attack, and then move on to the power point. And then the more important
blitz.
Cool thing he can do is he can order people to moving it.
Even if they've moved.
Yes, even if they've moved. So before they move or after they move, he can say, hey, you go that way. And it works on people adjacent to him. So if he's near that bomber, he can shove that bomber forward.
That's really good.
And that one works on allies, not faction only.
Right.
So this can be used to move a G-Tank into a good securing position, or
like a Brontox up to
or a Brontox onto a PowerPoint, or whatever. So this is going to be a good universal support piece, and also he's going to hand out hit and run to other apes.
And I think a big thing with this guy is that he costs 1.
Yeah, he's a specialist. It's pretty cheap because he doesn't do a lot offensively. He's a backline support kind of guy.
Right. Look at all the stuff he does.
Yeah, he does some great stuff, but he doesn't cost 2 because he's not going to go out there and get a lot of work done himself.
No, but he's just going to make everyone else around him ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool.
And then the monster, of course, that we showed off in that last showdown.
Oh, real fast before, because Twitch chat and Facebook chat, we are paying attention to as you talk. I see a couple people mention the Echo again. If you're just joining us, we just moved. We're in the new studio. It's big.
It's real big.
It's real big, and all the insulation, like the dampeners and stuff, aren't.
Yeah,
set up.
this room is 3 times bigger than the last one, and it's not carpeted.
And yeah,
so we're gonna find some audio solutions for that. But Tony just got the green paint on the wall a couple days ago and stuff, so we're getting everything up and running. But we wanted to start streaming, so you guys didn't miss us too.
So apologies for the echo. There's just not much we can do about it right now, other than not stream, and we didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay. So back to the action. White Dijon.
White Dijon.
Dejan? I don't know. He has a weird name, and I don't know how to pronounce it. Pronounce it however you want. It's your narrative. You do what you want. This is the ice ape. So he looks like a big giant yeti.
Boy, he looks thick.
He's real fluffy.
He's thick.
And he's got a giant icicle, kind of as a club. And he's an interesting model because his alpha is sturdier and calm, and his hyper goes like crazy angry.
Sure.
Now, he always has
that monkey rage.
Demolisher and Wrecking Crew. Mm-hmm. And Wrecking Crew is important because it gives allied models in his faction Demolisher. And Demolisher gets you a bonus power die when you knock a building down. So those bombers that we just talked about will get that Demolisher ability when he's on the table. He also has Steady, which has never appeared on anybody except Ares Mothership.
Right.
So he's hard to body slam because he's so solid and like...
Because he's thick.
He's thick, yeah. And then he has Fling on that club for his brawl attack, so he can knock units around with his baseball bat.
Cool.
So he's pretty straightforward. He's got Def 8, which is pretty standard, Speed 6, and he's got 11 hit points. 6 of them are on his alpha form, so he's a bit beefier in alpha than he is in hyper.
Sure.
And then in hyper mode, he speeds up, he gets high mobility and +1 speed. He loses Wrecking Crew, so he doesn't help his other little buddies out. He doesn't have Steady anymore either because he's moving faster. And he picks up Treacherous Territory because he's got some sort of winter magic powers. And so like a blizzard starts swirling around him, which makes everything around him within 2 spaces rough terrain. So units without high mobility or all terrain or whatever have a hard time getting to him. So those Carnodons that want to dogpile people, they're going to have a hard time getting to him. And he keeps Fling on his club, but he gains beatback. So he had the ability to knock units around, and he gains the ability to knock monsters around too.
Because he's angry.
Because he's angry. And you'll notice from both sides of his card, he does not have a blast attack. So he's a dedicated
melee
brawler. Yeah.
Well, before we move on to the next card, we have a pretty great question from Riker Mitchell. I know you answered this before, but people probably may have not caught up with it. So the question from Riker is, I have a question when it comes to how much of first edition you want to release to second. Are you guys planning development new releases for everything from first edition before new models are made? Is there anything you want to omit or not for new releases? So basically the idea is, and he says, love the game, keep on being awesome. Thank you, Riker. Are we going to do all of first edition in second edition?
We haven't decided 100% yet.
Yeah.
We are working forward at this point around a year ahead on the schedule planning. And there's a brand new monster coming out next year. We talked about the blob monster, Globicus. and he's never appeared in the previous game.
And I think that answers his second part.
Yeah.
Was, will we make totally new things
Yeah.
before we do a remake
Well,
of everything from first?
And the cards coming up, we're going to show a brand new thing that no one's ever seen before. We talked about it in that game, but it didn't exist in the old game either. So we're doing a little bit of both. We're trying to basically touch on all the things that people love from the first edition of the game. Like, one of the very first questions I saw on the internet as soon as we started previewing Lords of Cthulhu way back when Monpoc was first talked about was, where's Olgoth? Is Olgoth coming back?
Sure.
And Olgoth is the big bubbly guy that's about to be shown on the screen that we played with last week. And so we don't want to just completely abandon anything someone loved from the first game if we can bring it back in an interesting way.
Sure.
But we also want to touch on new things. And in the old game, the factions and the agendas worked different. So there was a lot more buckets of what rules could have.
Right.
So if you were playing guard, you could mix in some other stuff, but it cost more to spawn, stuff that wasn't faction and that kind of thing. So there was a lot more uniqueness in each faction. But now that we're doing agendas, we're not going to double up on roles and rules.
Some things
like,
are just too similar.
Yeah, like the Carnodon is going to stay one of the premier melee units on the Protector side for a long time. And any other time we do a melee-focused unit, like the Assault Apes or something, it's going to be different from that Carnodon. And raw stats-wise, the Carnodon might be the best melee unit ever because it has no secondary abilities, really.
It's the same thing I run into with Riot Quest,
Yeah.
right? Whereas, like, if you have 4 fighters, they each need to have a unique role.
Yeah.
Because the second that one is just strictly better than the other, what they do, and is usable by the same player,
Yeah.
you obsolete the other one. So you have to create that distinction, that space between them, even if the space is a little bit.
Yeah, and the other thing about the release schedule is I've kind of assigned my own words to them, but they're not like official.
So like keywords?
Yeah,
working titles?
no, like titles.
Oh, yeah.
So there's mainline factions that come out with a couple of monsters and some units and a building right away.
Sure.
So Empire of the Apes and Ubercorp was that.
They're mainline.
So they got 2 monsters, 2 units, and a building.
But like Subterran Uprising and Triton,
Yeah.
which just got 1 monster.
Yeah, they just got 1 monster. Now they're going to get a unit blister and a new monster in the first half of next year.
Sure. But they're not
then-
mainline.
But then Elemental Champions and Savage Swarm are going to get a single monster piece. So those, I like to think of those as trickle factions, where they're going to get touched on and they're going to get represented.
Yeah.
But they're not going to get that big, here's a playable force that's kind of cohesive all at once.
Sure.
And
Because
for-
those models are just playable in the
Yeah.
2 main agendas anyway.
And for the biggest answer to your question, which we've talked about a lot in small spoilers, next year in the summer, 2 new factions are coming out that didn't ever exist before.
Yes.
Space Dragons, which were planned for the original game, but we never got that far.
God, they look so good, by the way, y'all. When we can finally show you what they look like,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
so badass.
The concept art's starting to roll in on Space Dragons, and they're gonna be awesome. But we're ways away from showing anything. And then we're gonna do some sort of evil humanoid robot faction that's like Guard, but chunkier and scarier and more angular. And they're probably something like dimension hopping Soviets or something. So we haven't figured out exactly what their theme is and all that stuff. But Evil Guard is basically coming out next
Okay.
summer. And they're probably going to be transdimensional Russians or something.
But more evil than Ubercore, who are.
Ubercore are like trying to sell you things and every once in a while knock down a building. These guys are invaders from another dimension, possibly.
Got it.
Yeah.
And am I ever going to get a fat bumblebee from
I don't
Savage Swarm?
I don't know. We're doing the very first Savage Swarm model next year.
I want a chunky bumblebee. He doesn't have high mobility. Like, you look at him and you're like, that boy can't fly.
He's tiny wings.
He's just huge.
Yeah.
And tiny wings. He's just like,
Just put that in Riot Quest.
okay,
Just some sort of weird bee monster in Riot Quest.
get ready for it.
Just talk to Matt about it. It'll be fun.
Let's move on to
back to the cards. So, Lords of Cthulhu is the other thing releasing in October. And you guys saw these models used in that last Dev Showdown, the Snatchers.
Yep.
The Snatchers are really interesting. So they don't have flight. They are balloons, basically.
They have
don't
mobility.
have flight. They have high mobility, and they have hover, so they can stop on top of water, but they can't stop on top of a fire without taking damage. So it's like half flight. And the tanks for Ubercorp, the U tanks, are going to be hovering tanks, and so that rule is going to appear again pretty soon.
Okay.
The cooler thing they do is they manufacture, which if you've seen Martian models in Ares Mothership, you know how that works. If this thing punches a unit with its brawl, you replace it with a Lords of Cthulhu unit.
Sure. Which is your Taskmaster. Or a meat slave, yeah.
Or even the next model that we're going to show in a couple seconds. But these guys give Lords of Cthulhu a way to play around in the unit space that they didn't have before. And it kind of doubles down on destroyers want to steal your stuff and make it theirs. Because if you have Ares Mothership and Olgoth and some of these guys, you're going to be able to turn enemy units into your own units and try to push across that middle line with a giant swarm of units that started out as your opponents.
Right.
Now that makes you have interesting choices when you're building your reserves, because do you want to put a couple extra meat slaves in there because you're going to possibly get some extra meat slaves, and that kind of thing.
Quick question: when you shoot one of these down, do they burst? Do they explode? Like balloons?
No, I think they fly around like a balloon you let the end on.
Okay.
Yeah, and they make weird farting sounds the whole time.
Gross. Well, I'm sorry.
Not just when they're flying around the balloon. They make weird farting sounds.
I'm so sorry I asked.
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, I'll never ask you anything again.
And these are the mainline brawler in this blister, so they have an elite, and the elite just adds 1 blue die.
Yep.
Just like normal elites do. So that can help you gang up on units and get those higher def units to turn in, like that G tank that's holding something in the middle of the board. You can snatch it into something else.
I mean, yeah, if you bring one elite and 1 regular, you're rolling 4 blues and 2 whites. You're gonna hit.
Which is gonna be pretty good chances of hitting a 3 defense or less.
You should hit 3 defense easily. If you really need to hit that 4, then you probably want to grab 1 more snatcher over there.
Yeah.
Or throw in more. Like you couldn't max out and go 4 whites, 4 blues, which should hit a 4.
Now, the only thing you have to worry about with Snatchers is their def is pretty low. So they're not going to stay on the table a long time. They're very much balanced to be, I'm going to turn your units into my units, but I'm going to probably lose all these Snatchers. So they're going to get respawned a lot of times. But when we see the monster, and also meat slaves can pop out Snatchers just like everything else in Lords of Cthulhu. When we see the monster, we'll see how the unit game is going to change for Lords of Cthulhu. But the next thing is one of the very first brand new models that's never existed before.
Hit me.
It's a Hellion. So think of this thing as a leech with wings. It's got a scary mouth. It's got a protuberable pharynx, I think is what I wrote on there.
What?
It's a leech mouth. It's the kind of mouth. All these things,
like a goblin shark?
Kind of. So all the detail pointers on these cards come from real world terms and stuff. I like to look up on Wikipedia and then find weird words. So that is a mouth that like comes out of your body kind of thing.
Tony.
Protrusible pharynx.
Yeah. So his mouth extends.
Thank you, Tony.
So if you look at the model in detail, his mouth is just a circle of pointy teeth coming out.
That comes out like a goblin shark.
That comes out like a goblin shark.
Okay.
So the first thing to notice about this thing is it's really fast. It's speed 7 and high mobility with flight. So it can get around the table. It's also cost 2 and def 1. So you're not gonna just spam the board with them, and they're not gonna survive after they do their job very often because they're gonna get killed pretty easy.
Yeah.
But the job they do is really, really awesome. So being a specialist melee unit, they have better stats on their brawl than normal models.
Okay.
They have 2 blues base and they can go up to 3 whites. So by themselves, they can roll a decent amount of dice to attack another unit. And they have hit and run inherently, and like we talked about before, this thing's not going to guard that power point.
But it can jump on it.
But it can force your opponent to knock it off the power point instead of doing other things you want to do. It has Penetrator, which means the def of targets it attacks is -1. So
it's a free hit.
Its dice go farther because it gets a free hit.
Yeah.
And it has Siphon because it's a flying leech monster. If it ever damages a monster, then power dice shenanigans happen.
Which is important. It doesn't have Lone Wolf like a lot of
it doesn't have Lone Wolf.
So you can come in and do a big combined with one of these and a bunch of your other bros.
Yeah, if you throw Squix in behind this guy, the Squix can help his Siphon trigger on your enemy monster.
Because it doesn't have to all be Hellions. I see a lot of people often will make that that's like kind of a new player mistake I see a lot because they think their combines have to all be the same unit type.
Yeah, and anybody coming from War Machine in the Monsterpocalypse will think combined attacks work by units, and so they're all the same type. But this is different. So this model's really, really powerful, but it's not good at holding on to any territory.
That's step one.
It's going to move. It's going to do its job. It's going to possibly like shift farther forward to contest a building or whatever. And every once in a while, in the proper positioning, it's going to steal a power die from your opponent if it attacks a monster, but it's going to need help to do that. So this thing is a missile that flies across the table and kills an important model and then gets in the way and then probably dies.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's really awesome to Snatchers something in the middle of the table and a Hellion pop out, because then the Hellion can get to anything.
It just goes to Narnia and does whatever it wants.
Yeah. So this is going to shift up what the Lords of Cthulhu specifically are doing in your opponent's side of the table.
Cool. Is our chunky boy?
And then the monster.
Is our thick chunky boy up next?
The theme for the monsters in October is thickness.
I mean, look at him.
Yeah. So
I mean, he's head thick.
He's got a bunch of back action going on.
He does have a bunch of back action.
So Olgoth is a terraforming machine. The Lords of Cthulhu are from another dimension, a horrible, horrible dimension, and they want to come here and destroy the planet by basically turning it into their home.
Sure.
The meat slaves are like incubation sacks for small portals that weird stuff can come out of. And this guy is the poster child for we're turning the Earth into a hellscape.
Sure.
He has disruption inherently, so that's another thing you've seen on Squix, but also on Defender X.
Yeah.
So anybody fighting around him just has a slightly harder time, and it takes a blue die away from him. So it's going to be hard for units to get on this guy because they're going to lose a bunch of blue dice.
Which is good because he's def 7.
Yeah, he's really low def, but you'll also notice he has 12 hit points.
He does.
So this is one of the first bad guy monsters that's big and beefy, like Armadax or whatever. And as we explain, you'll understand why he has a low def. Because he doesn't just soak damage like Armadax. Armadax is really hard to hurt.
Well, he just doesn't take super damage.
Yeah.
Like flat out.
Yeah, and he doesn't take collision damage from buildings, so he's really hard to hurt. So you have to focus on Armadax with units to wear him down. And Armadax also has a very low defense in his alpha form.
That friggin' unwieldy rule on him.
But unwieldy is really interesting because we've seen steady now on a good guy and a bad guy. But unwieldy says you don't get blue dice when you throw him. And throwing is usually, especially as the first power attack, how you set up a really good second power attack.
Yep.
And that means that without a lot of red dice, you're just not going to throw Olgoth. He's too hard. He's got those wavy tentacles and he's big and blubbery. He's going to be just too hard to throw.
Yeah, that's rough. And is that because when you try and pick him up, he's just
so
sort of like
gross.
he's just too gross?
Yeah, he's so gross.
Like little dudes are popping out of his top.
Yeah, because that's the other ability on the left side of that card is Gravid. All those bubbles on his back are full of little units. So every time he takes damage, you place a Lords of Cthulhu unit next to him.
So this is the equivalent of picking up a bullfrog and spiders come out.
Basically.
Like just come crawling out of its
So
back.
if you want to wear him down with units, meat slaves, every time you shoot him with a pile of G-tanks or whatever, a meat slave falls off of him. It's real gross.
It's so gross.
It's real gross. Yeah, and just for added unit shenanigans, he has manufactured.
Sure.
So he can also touch things and turn them into his things.
Because he like scoops a dude up and shoves him in one of his pustules.
Yeah, and then something else pops out.
And then
yeah. So he's really, really unit focused. He's got a lot of hit points. He stays on the table quite a while, except for in our game against Faye. I shoved him out there and got him focused down, and he died.
Gotta keep the tradition alive of the new monster dying first.
So he's going to be hard for units to fight. He's going to spit out units. He's hard for your monster to throw around, and he's going to turn your stuff into his stuff.
Okay.
He's also no ranged attack, just like White Dijon in alpha form.
Sure.
So he's focused on melee. And then in hyper, he loses Gravid because all of his little bubbles are popped. Like, all the little bros he brought are gone. But he also gains treacherous territory because he's shifting the reality around him so much that, like, the ground is cracking and things are doing crazy things.
Also, he's probably oozing out of all of the open pustules that have meat slaves have rolled out.
Yeah, and he keeps disruption, so he's still interfering with reality around him. He keeps manufacture too, so throughout the entire game he can turn your stuff into his stuff.
Sure.
His def goes up by 1. Also, you'll notice he has 12 hit points, but most of his hit points are in his hyper form. He has 7 and 5, not 6 and 6. So he doesn't have Gravid for as long as he has his hyper form.
What I need out of this, after really sitting through this,
Yeah.
is A, a shower, and B, someone to convert this model and to drill out, like carve out all the
and
pustules.
just have little meat slaves peeking out.
And have little meat slaves peeking out of the open holes.
Yeah. Yeah. Do that. Somebody do that. Danny could do that on a hobby server. So, disruption stays, like I said, treacherous territory gets added. He keeps manufacture. He gets energy drain on his power attacks just for a little bit of a bonus. It's interesting though because it's action dice. If you look at the name, it says energy drain. You might think that's power dice.
Yeah, but it's actually.
It's not. It's action dice. So if he body slams you, it messes with your action dice. So people that are trying to keep a bunch of action dice on their monster side, and even keeping like one action die to still be able to activate monsters to shift them around, he's going to play around with that. And then he keeps manufacture, but he gets chain reaction. So when he smashes a unit, he turns it into one of his,
and then
every unit touching it in that like pulse of just gets wiped out. So he's a unit monster. That's his goal. And going forward, and I've seen comments about people on the internet saying, well, like this monster does this job really good. It's a little bit like Riot Quest.
Yeah.
There are monsters that are frontline, mainline, melee attacking, like Gorgadra style monsters that are just going to get in your opponent's face and beat them up. And a lot of monsters have a way to make a second attack or do more damage with Weapon Master or whatever. But not every monster is going to be that way. There are going to be monsters that are a little bit weirder and have more of a support role.
I mean, this guy's going to disrupt your enemy's power base really well, because you're going to go up, hit a guy, blow everyone up, make one of your own dudes, then have that dude go take one of their power guns, and then just be standing there.
Yeah, and if he gets into your opponent's side in alpha mode, then he's putting units on your opponent's side without them having to cross the table.
Yeah.
And so every time you damage him, a unit pops out, and then every time he hits a unit on your side, a unit pops out. So he can like just roll through your side of the table, turning your stuff into his and putting out more of his stuff, and just steal all your buildings without knocking them all down.
And I used to think there was a bad kind of thick, but this is the wrong kind of thick.
What? No, it's fine.
No, it's not.
It's just a little gross.
It's super gross.
So yeah, that's Olgoth.
Striker 911 wants to know, is this the only model with energy drain?
It's the first model with energy drain, I believe. I don't think there's anybody else. There might be another model coming soonish that has energy drain. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Who's next?
That's it.
That's all the new.
That's it.
You want to show?
So we looked at all the Empire of the Apes stuff, the blister of units and the monster, and then we looked at the Lords of Cthulhu with that middle break where we talked about gross weird stuff, and then their monster. And so that's October releases.
Cool.
And that is some of the stuff we used on the stream when Faye and I played, and a few things that you guys didn't get to see because we didn't have models for it.
Cool.
And also real screen caps so you can actually see things clearly.
Yeah, that'll probably be all over the.
Yeah.
So before we get out of here, I know some people are just joining us. One thing we want to show up one more time was the special battle priest from WTC, because it kind of came up quick, and I saw some people in chat asking about if there was anybody got any screen caps. Yeah. Tony, would you mind pulling up the chat real fast so we can keep an eye on it?
So this is the Marwyn battle priest. He's got that little Marwyn symbol hanging on his belt there.
And I think all attendees at WTC that have the swag bag are getting this for free.
We sent like 400 of these to WTC. So, and we also sent a card with, I believe, a colorized render of this guy on the portrait. So it's a unique card.
It's a unique card. It's him holding the actual beer.
Yeah, it's this model instead of the regular art.
Yep. So yeah, I just want to show that again. So all of you that are going to WTC, this is cool for you. If you didn't make it to WTC, sorry, this is a special model. Yeah. Maybe he'll show up at another WTC because
he's got the WTC symbol on him, so he's reserved for that unless we resculpt him.
Yeah. But I don't know if there's any plans for that.
But
I can't speak to that.
Yeah.
So thanks again for joining us, and thanks for everyone who subbed. I know we did a lot of talking today, and I saw a couple subs pop up in Twitch, and I didn't get to call them out. My apologies. For those of you that haven't subbed yet, we are doing that on Twitch, and you get access to all those emojis. So for the several of you that subbed during this that I didn't get to cheer your name, I apologize, but thank you very much for your love and support. I don't think we have anything else we need to talk about.
I think we're done.
Come join us tomorrow, 10 a.m. Hang out with Jordan. I think it's Jordan and you, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna be on tomorrow because we're gonna. Oh, and Tony's gonna be there too.
Tony,
because we're gonna paint Nova tomorrow, right, Tony?
Jordan and I are both gonna paint.
Oh, you're both gonna paint.
Oh, you're on the stream?
Who's gonna be pushing buttons?
I'm gonna be pushing buttons.
And painting?
I'm gonna be doing it all.
Wow.
It's gonna be weird.
Wow.
So Tony, it's your birthday.
Yeah.
You are turning 22.
Sure. Double that.
-1.
-1. What do you want from Twitch and Facebook for your birthday?
Just say subs, Tony. Just say subs.
Well, now I can't because I feel like you've got just be happy, hang out, see us tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tune in next week. We'll see you later.
All right. Later, everybody. Have a good show.
Talk to you tomorrow when Tony paints a Nova and
have
pushes
fun at
buttons.
work or whatever you're doing. If
Yeah.
you're on the way to WTC, enjoy it.
Mhm.
Eat some cake for Tony. Bye.
Yeah.